All right. Doctor Who and William Hartnell. Okay. Now, next I will be talking about the story, the Doctor Who story, The Edge of Destruction, which is story number 3. I'm skipping past story number 2 of Doctor Who, which was a good story. It was the first appearance of the Daleks. So it's significant in that way, for sure. But I already talked about the Daleks in the Doctor Who videos I did about Tom Baker and Peter Cushing. The Edge of Destruction is only 2 episodes. Okay. And alright, now I'm going to read the back of what it says on the DVD of The Edge of Destruction. In here. Okay. Something has caused the TARDIS console to explode in mid-flight, plunging the ship into darkness and rendering the crew unconscious. As they slowly recover, they find themselves suffering from loss of memory, and odd headaches. The TARDIS behaves oddly as the doors open and close of their own accord. Has the ship been possessed in some way? Or is something more dangerous happening to the time travelers? All right. Okay, starring William Hartnell with William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Carol Ann Ford. Produced by Verity Lambert. Written by David Whitaker. Directed by Richard Martin and Frank Cox. Doctor Who and TARDIS are trademarks of the BBC. And incidental music by Tristram Cary. I think it says that specifically for the incidental music. It says it specifically for the Dalek story, but it doesn't say it specifically for The Edge of Destruction. I'm just making an assumption that it was the same person doing the incidental music. Okay. All right. That's enough. Okay. Now, it's time to go to Spoiler Town again. For The Edge of Destruction. We see the crew of the TARDIS around the control console. There's an explosion and they all fall down, unconscious. Barbara wakes up and looks at Ian, who's sitting in a chair, still unconscious. She says his name as if she's not certain that's his name. Susan wakes up and looks at Barbara, saying, "I know you." She groans, twisting her head, and sits down. Barbara says, "Have you hurt your head?" Susan says, "Yes, terribly. My neck hurts too. It's going away now." Susan sees the doctor laying on the floor of the TARDIS unconscious and goes to him. Barbara notices that the doctor cut his head from the fall. Susan says she has some ointment. Susan looks at Ian but doesn't remember who he is. She says, "What happened?" Barbara says, "I don't know." Barbara turns to see that Ian is awake. He's standing up and staring at her. He says, "You're working late tonight, Miss Wright." Ian tells Barbara that he's dizzy. Susan has gone to get the ointment for the cut on the doctor's head and some water. She pulls a long strip of bandage-like material out of a box. She cuts off a section with a pair of scissors. Then she gets a pouch of water from a machine displayed with buttons and a light. When Susan gets back, she gasps when she sees that the TARDIS doors are open. None of them know why the doors are open. Susan thinks something is inside the TARDIS with them. Susan gives the bandage to Barbara. Susan tells Barbara the colored part is the ointment. You'll find that color disappearing. It goes into the wound. When the bandage is completely white, it means the wound is healed. Barbara puts the bandage on the doctor. Ian walks toward the open doors. Outside the TARDIS, all we see is whiteness. The doors shut when Ian gets close to them. Ian asks the others if they did that. Susan tells Ian that they haven't moved. Ian walks toward the control console, and the TARDIS doors open again on their own. Susan tries the controls. She yells and falls down unconscious. Ian yells, "What's going on here?" Ian takes Susan and lays her in bed. The doctor wakes up and tells Barbara his neck hurts because someone hit him. Ian goes to the water machine. It tells him it's empty, but there's a pouch of water in the dispenser compartment. He puts some water on a towel. When he gets back, Susan is awake. She's standing and kneeling against the bed. She's staring at Ian while holding up a sharp pair of scissors. Ian says, "What are you doing?" He takes a step towards Susan, but stops when Susan says, "No, who are you?" Ian says, "You don't need that. reaching for the scissors. Susan slashes the air in Ian's direction. She groans, yells, "No!" screams as she stabs her bed multiple times with the scissors. She collapses on the bed and drops the scissors to the floor. The doctor tells Ian and Barbara the ship must have stopped and put us down somewhere. Barbara says, "But where?" The doctor says, "I must go and check the fault locator again." Barbara asks, "Do you think something could have got into the ship when the doors were open?" The doctor says, "No, it's ridiculous." Ian asks, "What do you mean? An animal? Or a man or something?" "Yes," Barbara says. "It's not very logical, is it?" the doctor says. "Or another intelligence," Barbara says. "Things aren't always very logical, are they?" The doctor says, "I've been very patient with you, Miss Wright, and really there's no more time for these absurd theories." Ian says, "Probably a mechanical fault." "Yes, or electric," says the doctor. "It may even be the main unit. I don't know. I'm very worried about it all. Young man, I think you'll have to help me with that fault locator now that Susan's been put out of action." Susan takes the scissors and goes back to bed. Barbara tells Susan to give her the scissors. Susan resists, holding them up towards Barbara. Barbara grabs the scissors from Susan. Ian tells Susan that everything was perfect after checking the fault locator with the doctor. He tells Susan that the doctor is about to turn on the scanner to see what's outside the TARDIS. Susan screams and runs to the doctor. She warns the doctor that when she touched the control console, it was like being hit, but without any pain, in the back of her neck. The doctor tries the scanner. It turns on, but physically nothing happened to him when he touched the controls. They see England on the scanner, but the doctor says that can't be what's outside the ship. The TARDIS doors open on their own again. There's nothing but whiteness outside. Ian goes to the control console to shut the TARDIS doors, but they close on their own. They all look to the scanner again. This time it's showing them that outside it's the planet Quinis. The doctor thinks it's the TARDIS memory bank, which records their journeys. The scanner shows planets and stars in space, then goes white. The doctor says, "I know now who's responsible. You are." He points to Ian and Barbara. You've sabotaged my ship. You're the cause of this disaster, and you knocked both Susan and I unconscious. You attacked us. And when we were lying helpless on the floor, you tampered with my controls. Ian and Barbara say, "That's nonsense, Ian." Ian says, "You checked everything yourself, and you couldn't find anything wrong with it." Barbara says, "Why would we tamper with the controls?" The doctor says, "To force me to return you to England. I know it. I'm sure of it." Barbara says, "How dare you?" Barbara turns and screams when she sees that the clock has melted. The doctor brings a tray with cups on it. He says, "I've decided we need more time to think. We're all somewhat overwrought." They each take a cup from the tray. Ian says, "I wish I could understand you, Doctor. One moment you're abusing us, and the next you're playing the perfect butler." The doctor says it's a little nightcap to help us relax and sleep. The doctor checks to see if the others are asleep. They appear to be. He goes to the control console. Ian grabs the doctor. Then Ian falls to the floor. All right. Well, that is the end of the first episode of The Edge of Destruction. I suppose that's a good time to stop. Okay. Still quite a bit left. I might be able to finish this tomorrow. We'll see. It's time to eat. Yep. Time for fruit smoothies for breakfast time. And I was going to have some field roast sausages with, field roast sausage sandwiches on Ezekiel bread. Vegan field roast sausage, field roast vegan sausage, there we go. Field roast vegan sausages, to emphasize the vegan.